Hello everyone, welcome to today's live trading New York session with Pitchforks. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. I was on the Harmonic scanner. Don't know why that's saying no internet, it's lying to me. This morning, I didn't find a lot of new things. Something's just come up now, I think. H1, you can use any of the brokers. I'm not going to draw things on today, I don't think, but I just wanted to show you this Euro GBP shark. Now, our rules state that we wait for a shark to be a second entry point. It's the only pattern that has two entry points, or 50% of the way to take profit one, or at take profit one, because the D point can slip. So that is now take profit one. Now, the scan itself is only 60 pips. Oh, sorry, 73 pips, so we would not normally draw that, but I did draw it, and I have drawn these sometimes before to double check where, so I know Chance has never ever said this, because we wait for a minimum of 80 pips, because they are more likely to succeed, and that's what we want. And this is the scan we're working off, which is this bigger buy scan with the D point of the 31st of July. But I drew the little one on because I thought it might help me with the entry point on this trade, even though it's a shark. Okay, so you had price, let's come down to the 1 minute. You had price come down and retest the D point, which is good, that's what we look for. But because of that quarter theory sat there at 8 pips, you would want to wait till it was above quarter theory before you got in on any trade. So it came up and gave you a bit of a trade there, but we had that it was only 10 pips, and that was just before the Bank of England, all the red flag news on GBP this morning. So not brilliant trading, and of course we wait. We're only taking buy scans, so we don't want to take it when it's coming down in the sell. And again, that's to ensure most chance of success. So until it gets up to the median, then we only take the buy scan on this one. So it carried on down, and then in New York session, it started to come up. So if I come out to the and that was on that little scan. So the little scan is in white. So the bigger scan is the green lines, okay? So I use the little scan, and I don't know whether this is right or wrong, but it just helped me to tell me when to get into the trade, bearing in mind it's a shark. So the green scan, we would be still waiting. Sorry if this is getting a bit complicated. We'll move on to something else in a minute. So the green lines are my big scan I should be using, and the little white lines, it's a smaller scan that I shouldn't really be using, but I'm using it just to see how it plays off, and it is going up now, but because of where the pitchforks are, so it's up to you whether you try and make a trade, but at the moment it's just playing between that 10 pip gap, the quarter theory, and this is the smaller scan. So technically we should be waiting for that the bigger scan there. So you might want to read it like that or not. So that is 52 pips. So if we're gonna, so we only want to do buys, and our next green line is up there. So if the price comes up above this dotted white line, which is the smaller scan, you might want to think about, as I say, this is totally outside the rules, but you might want to think about a trade there and see if it will play out up until there, or you've got to wait now on Euro GBP until we get up to that point there. So if I hide that for you.
You hear me? No. Why? No, we kiss. No.
Oh, something in the chat, hang on. GBPUSD point redrawn, thank you. I'll have a look at that next. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. So that's where we are on Euro GBP. So your 20 would take you up to there. If you're going to use the white one, the green one, not the white one. But as I say, I was just playing around with that to help me on entries. So Euro GBP, GBP USD, Euro GBP, GU, okay, I'm going to have to find this one. I don't think I've got the latest one then. GBP, oh, there we are, the shark, that's a shark as well. So this is a new one. Okay, so we will draw this one. So time zone the same as your local, look bottom right, check how big this is, 203. It's moved just to the second entry point now, 31, 3150. So I will draw this, but please keep an eye on it, because technically you want to wait until at least the second entry point, or down 50% between entry and TP1, or even TP1, because as Charlie said, D points often redraw on sharks. So come to the X, 31st of the 7th, 16. This will be, you need to find your local time zone, it won't be the same as mine. In Paris, A, 3rd of the 8th at 15. B, 4th of the 8th at 9. C, 4th of the 8th at 1400. And D, 6th of the 8th at 12. I'll just bring the settings down. Hide some of this. Right, so on the hourly, at the same time frame, get rid of that. And we're looking for the 31st. So you can either put brush marks on, or you're just looking for highs and lows. The first one is the 31st at 1400. So I'll just take the scanner off the left to make sure you've got the magnet on. I'll just do it visually. So 31st at 1400, 3rd of August at 1500. That's going to be your next low. The next high, 4th of August at 9. It's going to be that one. The next low, 4th of August at 1400 there. And 6th of August at 12. So that's the latest one up there. Don't worry about these numbers in between. We never use them, it doesn't matter. Put the pitchfork on, again the same thing with the magnet to make sure it goes exactly onto the end of the wick. Once that's on, just have a quick look to make sure it looks similar. Yes, it does. And then down to the 1 minute to make sure the points are accurately on the highest or the lowest candle. So that's going to be that one. If you're not sure, draw a horizontal line across and magnify it and see which has the highest or lowest wick. And we're only bothered about the pitchfork. The drawing doesn't matter, just the pitchfork. Last one. And then just lock it on. Magnify that one. There's the lock, it's open. You want to lock it and then they don't glitch. And now you're good to go. So now that's on. Put on the rest of our indicators. And now you've got your shark on, bearing in mind we're only just at the confirmed entry, so it's not going to change back on us. Let's come to the 1 minute, see what it's doing. So we've got its very interesting position. Just break it down when you're looking at whether you've got the trade or not. What is it telling you? It didn't make a complete break and retest back to the pitchfork, which is normally what we like to see to confirm. But it was only off 1.9 pips, and in a 6.6 trillion market, we consider that a touch. So it's come down to quarter theory, but it's rejecting, which says buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. The 15-minute is also running along quarter theory, holding it up. So that's saying that it does not want to sell anymore. But the 62 EMA is saying sell at the moment, and we haven't got a pitchfork touch either. And let's measure the distance. Well, we have got 64, so technically that means, but bearing in mind this is a shark, so I'm just going to come back and look at, I'm going to come, and we can't cover, you've got to find the right confirmations. So bearing in mind we're just at the point where the scan is confirming. It hasn't hit take profit 1, which is take profit 1. Let's have a look at what that point is. 1.31078. Find a line. 1.31. Oh, right down there. 1.31. 1.310. 1078. Oh, it is right down there. Well, that's miles away. I suppose I'm only on the 1 minute chart. Okay, so I'll just clone that, move it up here and see if it's going to break through there, and then have another look at it. Right, that's on there. And our trend line at the moment is also showing an upward, an upward trend. So it's, I know someone was asking this morning about where to draw trend lines. Christopher Terry, the founder of the company, says to the end of the wicks. Chance says trend lines are like a zone. Pitchforks have Fibonacci built into them, so they're highly aggressive trend lines and therefore precisely accurate. But sometimes I've seen Chance with a trend line draw a very thin rectangular box around it. I won't bother doing that now, showing it's a zone. So what I tend to do is find touches either side, count them up, minimum of 2, as many as you can, but really 3 is better than 2, obviously, and more. I don't often go for just 2, and you can see sometimes I've let a wick slip through. Well, that's near enough, the changeover near enough on the hour, and sometimes I might find a body. I'll just look for what looks best. I think it's a bit of a judgment. So, but I do like to, and Chance says this, and anchor it somewhere on one of the candles. So you can see if I did that, I've only got 1, 2 touches where I've anchored it plus there, so that's no good. There I've got 3 touches, 1, 2, 3, but I don't like the look of it. It's very wicky and it doesn't look very solid. It's too far out as a trend line. Here is looking better for me. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and yes, there's a little body and some wicks through there to touching quarter theory and touching the 15-minute, but that looks better. Or even that looks better to me because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've got some touches to the other side. So, and I can see it's dipped through to touch the 15-minute in the quarter theory. So that's how I'll draw what I think of a trend line. So at the moment, I think maybe something like that is how I'm probably going to leave that one. So, I suppose, wait a minute, if I'm being fiddly, that is probably more accurate there. Okay. And then downward trend line off the D point. You can see that one's a clearer one to draw. Much clearer. And then in terms of what you're looking for, sorry if this gets a bit like a kiddie's drawing, but in terms of what you're looking for is you want price. If you're looking for the sell, you're looking for it to come down here, break and retest that quarter theory, touch the 1-minute trend and go down. If you're waiting for price to carry on up, then it's going to touch that and go on up, back up there and then down or something like that. So that's the kind of way that I mark them up. But this one's a little bit different because, as we've said, it's a shark, and it's saying that the take profit isn't even until that level. This is a quarter theory, which we normally don't do, except it's a bigger pitchfork, so therefore technically we are allowed to. But are you going to be playing with fire if you get into it at this point? Probably not if it does a good break and a retest and continues the downward trend beyond that quarter theory, and you might be all right for a trade there. But bearing in mind USD news tomorrow on non-farm payroll. So I think that's enough on GU, except we want to have a look. It's going up there, you can see, so it's heading back up at the moment. And any others to draw? There's Euro USD. Very odd with that long wick like that. C to D, it's only 53. Don't want to get involved in that. NZD, There's a little one down here. NZD, that's only 42 anyway. And then sometimes I look at the others. You can see it's the same ones coming up. There's that new, we drew that yesterday, I think, the EuroAUD one, because that was the run up that we had, the 62. We were looking at it here, 62 pips from here in yesterday's session, and then it ran up 62 pips and formed the new high point for today's scan. So that's GU. Let's come out and look at EuroCAD. So Euro GBP, GU, Euro Canadian dollar, the loonie. So we looked at that this morning, and from the markup we said it could go either way. So in that case I put 2 on, so keep my eye on when I come back to it, and you can see sure enough it decided to go for the sell. We'd drawn our downward trend line. It did the break and the retest, 946. So that was, we weren't actually, we must have been, because we were following EN, because it was 10 minutes before the hour, and then you can see it played out very nicely actually. 49.50. Actually, weirdly, it didn't fake out above, did it? It just dropped straight down, and it did 27 pips just at the end of our London session this morning, and it didn't give you another entry. It hasn't given you any other entries because of where the 62 is, because you don't want to get involved above the 62, because sometimes I look to see if a price will give me another entry on the same pair. Nothing for us actually over here. We could have had something, break and a retest back to the 62, so you've got a similar setup here, but we've missed it. That's done exactly the same thing at the opening of New York, so we missed that one, but there was the same setup over here. And often you'll find that price will give it to you again, and it's done it there. Okay, so nothing on EuroCAD at the moment, and the orange has crossed below anyway. So now we'd be waiting for this. So we'll put an alert on that. Whoops. And we'll come back to that if the alert goes off. So this morning's session, EN did 38 pips, GA, we briefly looked at the setup, that did at least 30 and was carrying on up. And then we had this, which did 27. So there was actually nearly 100 pips in this morning's session. That's what I wanted to get rid of. I just wanted to come over here and get rid of that while I was here. Let's put that back on the 1 minute. Okay, so we'll leave that one for the moment till the alarm goes off. GA, just so you've got to see the markup from this morning. We only had time to look at it briefly. This is why you need to have your charts open, decide what you want to get into. Sometimes I try and run through as many pairs as I can, like Chance does, and other times, like EN, we tried to discuss it in full because it was there. So different things, we learn different things from different sessions, hopefully. So we had our upward trend. That's the pitchfork there. And we had, let's get rid of that. So the trend line came up, it broke and retested, but it didn't. Where's the 10 o'clock? There's the 10 o'clock candle. So we were waiting for, it came up here, and then we had 2 break and retests off the quarter theory, but it didn't come right back down to pitchfork. That doesn't matter because you had the, if you read the chart, it had the hourly fake out. So you had your hourly fake out to the downside and then that big push up. And that's what you're looking for to get into. You don't need it to come right back down here because you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You've had all that 11 for all that rejection of the quarter theory to the upside for 42 minutes. Then the fake out, and then as soon as you see it push up here, then you could have got in here. That's where I would have got in here. If I'd missed the open of that, then the open of that next 1 minute candle there, and then that would have given you, that gave you 30 pips. So it's still above, but then you saw it drop. So again, a similar situation, very fast pair. Would I have stayed in once I saw it doing all that? In all honesty, no, I wouldn't. I would have thought, oh God, no, I think it's falling right back down, because that would have meant you can't tell it's going to do all that, and that would have meant giving up. That would have 27 pips. I mean, no way is anyone going to do that. Equally, you probably wouldn't have got the full 39.40. So it did go up to just above quarter theory. It did do 40, 46. But if we're looking at it in all honesty, then this is exactly where you would say I've got my 20 pips to there, but it was still pushing up strongly. 4 stall outs and it starts dropping. So you've now given up 17 pips. So as soon as you start to see that, I would have been out the trade. It is very hard because I know sometimes we're trying to grab those 50, 60 pips. So up at 40 pips from there, and that was even not getting in till there. If you saw it wick out and thought, oh, I'll hold on, I think it's going to go up to quarter theory, then you see it coming down, you're now back down here at your, I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, I thought I'd just turned that off. 25 pips, so it's dropped back down. You've now given up 15 pips and you're thinking, oh my God, feeling very fed up. So that's your daily target. So you can say, all right, I'm closing out now, job's done for the day. And then if you think, oh, I don't know, I'll hang on, then you're back to your trade target. And then of course, once it's below the 62, you're back down to 15 pips and you've now given up 25 pips. And GA is a very fast pair. So that's why you have to learn to make quick decisions. And I don't always get it right, as you know. Stall out there, back down, stall out, dropping there. I would have definitely been out there, I think. I'm pretty sure. I know I would. 22 pips, 25 to 22, because I thought, all right, got my daily or my trade target. Okay, so that's just analysis of the GA setup from this morning. And at the moment, we've got quarter theory saying sell, the 62 saying sell. Here's the pitchfork, so we'll put our slider on there. Bit of a big stop loss. You do really need to cover them. I know Connor took that EN this morning and didn't. So, that's up to you. But technically, Chance says you should always cover the 2. We've got the 62 in the red box as well. So now what we're waiting for, we can put a, so we've got the momentum with us. Except it's leveling out, isn't it? So anchor that up there, find your 1 minute trend. So, I mean, that's obviously too tight, lot of touches. That's okay. That is not very good because you've only got the top anchor plus 2, 3, well, you've got 4 touches there. So you could do that one. There's a big gap there though. I try and line it up a bit closer if I can. That to me looks better. It doesn't really, so if we put it there, then at the moment we've got it's breaking out the other way. Let me just put that the right color, and let's put a trend line on the other way. And that, I know you're saying she hasn't anchored it. Right, so that, because we're looking for what is price, I'll put that there then. What is price thinking of doing? So I've got some nice, oh, I do want my magnet on for this. So I know people think pitchforks are fiddly, but the benefit of that fiddliness is a 10 pip stop loss, 10 to 15 pip stop loss, and knowing exactly and having the confidence to move between the levels and get and squeeze out more pips than other people do when they're working on the 5-minute, 15-minute and the hourly. And that's what I love about it. If you add up 1%, 5 pips, 1% over 100 trades, you've doubled your account. You've added on another 100% over the year. So to me, that is well worth a few minutes on the 1 minute, getting the trend line, getting pitchforks on accurately, and fiddling around to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. You've got the correct break and retest. And even if you're in those 1 and 3, which may fail, and the trade reverses on you and goes the other way, if you're compounding at a minimum of 1 to 2, you're still on the upside to growing your account very nicely. And I just love this system because it gives me great confidence that I know exactly where I am. So we're just waiting for the break and the retest. We've got it under the 62, it's under quarter theory, and it's now looks like it's doing that break and retest of this upward trend line. So this is the one that we're waiting for. Same thing every time. That is what we're waiting for. So you don't sit and stare at it, you just put your alert on and come back to them. Come back to them when the alerts go off. So that is 9.3, so that'll do us for the moment. So just put, and I like to try and rush through some of these because I know you want to see some trades to get into. So I can't always, because sometimes if I'm particularly interested in a trade, I won't be rushing through other things because I'll just be wanting to do what I want to do on the ones I'm looking at. Let me just put that to wrong color, blue for alert. Hang on, getting myself muddled up now. Pale blue for alert. Put the alert on. I'll put it the other side so we can just see if it's going to start to come through. So that's GA. Euro JPY, I know someone did very well on that, not necessarily from our session this morning, but they said that Euro JPY have been very good to them this morning. That's come straight out of my scan. So I'll just see if I've got anything else going on. And the answer is no. I don't have any hidden pitchforks. Right. So let's have a look where that pitchfork is. So the euro's tanked. So nothing on that one. Nothing on that one. Oh, wait a minute, it's come back into the green one. It's out of the red and into the green because that's come below. It looks like it's coming below. So let me just find that green one. Okay, GA alert's gone off if you're looking at that. That was that second pitchfork that I drew. And I'm still comfortable with that. You can see that's okay on all the touches I've got. So I'm happy that that is working for me. So what I'm going to do is come back to the 1 minute because I wanted to see is the extension's going to ping it back in. It looks like it's too far away. It's below the 62 and it's below the quarter theory. So I'm going to fade out. I'm going to fade out that, make that pink, make it purple. Fade that one out. Faded it out too far. I need to remind myself it's there otherwise. So I can just see it in the background in case price comes up. So it's now working in the green one. Again, that's a big, I don't think that's going to go up and touch that now. Too far away, and it's below the 62, because if it came up to touch the quarter theory, there's a quarter theory trade, but I don't really want to get involved in that like that, I don't think. So for me, there's no trade until it's down there, so I'm not going to do anything on Euro JPY today. Let's come back to GA. GA is just doing the break and the retest. The 62 momentum looking nice coming down. So I'll take that off and I'll see if I can move that. No, I'm not going to move the trend line. Leave that there for a minute. Let's get rid of that. So we just want it to come through. Take that off. Change that to dark blue. Right, so we're just waiting now for this to come back to the pitchfork. Which would be very nice because it's got the 15-minute line running exactly along the pitchfork. So if it touches that and then drops, and you can see how strong this downward momentum is at the moment. You have got a bigger stop loss than we normally like. I know chance doesn't go for that. That's your 15 1-to-1, and then you'd be looking to run it down to that 31 pips, 30 pips at 1.82500, which is the next quarter theory. I don't know if this is going to give it to you. It looks like it's running away all the way down, but normally you will get that break back. I found, as I've said to you in the past, when I get involved in trades like this, because I think, oh no, I've missed it. Look how strongly it's going down. Then I get in down here, and then sure enough, I'm in drawdown straight away because it decides it will go back and do the retest. I just want to see where the previous lines of resistance are. So not till down at 1 point. Oh, you've got one on quarter theory, a couple of lines there. So that's quite good. And sorry, I was just going to say apologise for something I can do nothing about, which is sorry if it runs straight down and doesn't give us an entry. But we do wait for that retest, and that's one of the very strong principles of this system. So a lot of stalling out there on the quarter theory that we're aiming for, and then it down there. So quarter theory at 30 pips would be a good place to aim for on this, and to get out if it gives us the retest that we very kindly want it to give us. So we just want that retest back up to, here's the settings, 82814 is the pitchfork, or 82815, thereabouts. I'll just do the profit at our usual level. And at the moment we're waiting for, well, it's gone 15 pips. So I'll put the alert back on that line. I won't change the color because I don't want to get involved in that unless it comes back up there. If you're getting involved in that, doing what it's doing, then you're going against the rules, as is getting involved with it without putting that stop loss above your quarter theory. So you've got the 3 confirmations in the red between the entry price and the stop loss, but that's up to you. And Connor was successful this morning doing that. And you might think to yourself, well, I don't want to give up, 20 pips to go all the way back up there anyway. But on these fast pairs, that sometimes happens. Right, we'll look at something else, because if that doesn't come back up, it's gone. So Euro NZD EN was the one we took this morning, and that actually dropped another 50 pips. So the stacking was difficult though, and that's why I've left it up here. It did 38 pips on our session, and then the stacking was difficult because you would have had to have left you stacked in, yes, at quarter theory, no problem with that, and then left your stop loss at 15. So close out this at 38 pips so that you've secured 38 pips. If this then stopped you out minus 15 pips, that means you have secured 23, which is about your trade goal, daily goal for the day. Okay, so that's how you have to view it, because you're going to lose those 15 pips. And in fact, it came back to, you had a break and a retest back to the 62. I would have been confident to have got in there. Then you would have had to have given up. You would have running your stop loss behind that 62 and the previous high, and it meant that you gave up. It's only 5 pips. That's not too bad. I don't know where the hour is. Well, that is coming up to the hour. So that's coming up to the hour. Once you're past that point, then you can run it quite happily. You can see how the 62 just drops away. So if you're running it down, the problem then with running it down like that, which you would have been doing, pulling it quite tight, you've done a couple of pips, but look, it takes you out over here. And I'm not sure you would have known that. I don't think I would have known that, because I would have wanted, as soon as I saw it coming down here, to be pulling that down quite tight for a risk-free trade. So I think I would have got stopped out on that stacking. I absolutely don't think, if I'd been in on the stacking, that I would still be up and leaving my stop loss up there. Although you could say to yourself, all right then, I've secured 38, it stopped me out here, so you're giving up a few pips. So you could have said, well, all right, I'll leave it. How many pips behind the 62? If it's come down here, I still think you would have been stopped out because of that. That's an hourly fake out again. So a bit difficult, that one, to have got it right, because you're trying to run that down, keep running it down, and then of course once you're down here, you've got a lovely trade all the way down for a second stack in for another 50 pips. So not always very easy to get that right, but whenever you've secured your first one, you need to think where your stop loss is on your stack in. How many pips am I going to have to forego and take off what I have won on the first trade? Okay, that's how you run the stacking. So what have we got going on down here? A lot of stalling out along the quarter theory. So the pitchfork said sell, the 62 said sell, the quarter theory has said buy. Doesn't like it at all. This is a very fast pair. And where would we be thinking about getting in? Well, we've either got to wait till down here or wait for it to return up here. So we haven't actually got a trade on EN at the moment. Let's see what happened on GA. Just decided to drop, so it didn't give us the entry with a break and a retest. It's done the 20 pips. Sometimes these things happen, can't legislate for that. as I say, I found when I got into trades that have run down like that, then oh, don't tell me it's going to start to come right back up after all that. Perhaps I've been preemptive, taking my stuff off. So it's run down 25 pips. Interesting. Okay then. Well, if it's going to do it, it's going to do it. Let's see if it comes back up to try and touch the pitchfork and the 62 EMA and gives us another opportunity to try and get in. So I'll leave that alarm on then. But the 62 is still shoveling it down and is pointing downwards. So once it's crossed that pitchfork, I can't see it really turning, although it's a fast pair. So missed that one, but nothing we could do about that. Euro GBP, nothing happening on that, as we said. Euro USD has decided to go up again. So I don't know if it's pushing up even higher, collect more money. So nothing for us on that. I'm going to shut that one down for the moment. Get rid of some of these. Euro GBP, no more to say on that today. Euro NZD, Euro NZD. So we've got a strong downward momentum. How can we get involved in that? Probably not. Oh, we could do. EN 15 pips covers you pitchfork. Pitchfork touch, haven't had a full break and retest. Strange one because it's just in that sandwich, isn't it? So it's not liking which way it's going to go at the moment. So you have got 62 quarter theory and pitchfork all in the red box, but it's not deciding. It can't push down, and it's not pushing up. It's not doing anything. But then it's done a big run down, so that's probably priced resting at the moment. But if you get a break and a retest, then you've got till the pitchfork. You've got 13 pips, so you can keep an eye on that one. But please wait for a break and a retest, because what will happen otherwise is it can be slippage, 6, 7, 8 pips, and it can still then come back up into here, either go up for the buy or decide it's going to range through this wedge, and you'll just get stuck in drawdown. So do not get involved in it unless you've got a very clear view that it has done a break and a retest below the 62, preferably come down to quarter theory, and that the 62 is still shoveling it down. Okay, otherwise you'll get trapped and you won't like that, and then you'll blame me, and I don't want to get blamed. Right, well, GA just did what GA did do the rundown, but I didn't feel we could get into that. GCAD did give us that entry this morning. That was also there, which is why I left it marked up. So you had a break and a retest back to quarter theory. It didn't give you it back to, it did give it to you here, back to the pitchfork, then back to the quarter theory with the rejections. And that was your entry, which is why I've left it marked up. And that gave you, I've done that, that gave you, it went right up to 57 pips. So actually it was about 160 pips this morning. But again, it's same thing we were just discussing on one of the others. Still above the 62, it drops back down. So you might have come out with the 38 or back up to quarter theory. Then you would have come out with getting out there at 50 because you could see it's forming lower highs, carries on forming lower highs back to the 62. You probably would have said, well, I'm definitely out now, down at 35 pips. I probably would have done exactly the same. And if you hadn't, then it did go on to do 75 pips at its height. So very nice trade on a fast pair there. So There was a lot of pips this morning. It was about 175, but it's always difficult to get the full move. So what have we got at the moment? We have got a nice zone here. I love that. My favorite zones come together, quarter theory and pitchfork together. We've got the downward trend here. So let's see what we can pick up. How are we doing for time? Just coming to the end. If anyone's, I'll just have a quick look at questions. So just about touching there. So there's our downward trend. But technically the 62 is saying buy because it's crossed above the blue down here today in Tokyo. And in fact, it's done 50, it's done over about 125 pips up. I don't know if we've got a fib there. Only back to the 50% off that one. This is why fibs are a bit confusing, because you have to decide. And if you do get confused, Chance says, please take them off. He doesn't always use them, is what he says. So from past to present, high to low, because we're thinking of the sell, a wick off the 88.6 there. Pitchforks right down here, quarter theory's up there, and it's above the 62. So you have to make a decision whether you think that's a correct analysis and whether you think it is coming down. You know, I don't always find these easy to follow with using just the fib, without using my quarter theory and pitchfork. I know they're fantastic, but you know, you get used to a certain way of trading, don't you? And I don't always trade just straight off the fib. So technically it has wicked off the 88.6, I think, and there it's off the 78.6 as well, almost exactly. But I probably wouldn't want to get involved till it was below that 62 anyway. So I think that's a sell, rejecting off the 78.6, in which case you're 0% down to there. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not always so confident on these. You've got 20 pips down to the 0. Next zone is down to the pitchfork at 32. Possibly, it is a fast pair, possibly 42 pips. That's your take profit 3 down at the minus 61.8. But as I say, I'm not always overly confident on where the fib is. Well, I'm confident that I put it correctly. I'm confident about that. But in terms of number of confirmations to take a trade and saying, okay, did it hold and is it really, you know, going to go down from there? It looks like it is. So sometimes, yes, I do this, and sometimes I don't. I find it a bit difficult when I'm talking and training as well as thinking about judging a trade. So I'm just going to finish by looking at that annoying one, which is that one, very annoying one, because it's now done 31 pips, but it didn't give us a break and a retest. It just went straight down. And I would swear horribly, except I know this is being recorded. That's extremely annoying, because that's a very, very nice quick trade. And that's our favorite sort of trade on this strategy. Well, it is mine. So we would have had, that only took 20 minutes for 33 pips. Very nice. So that's it from me today. Sorry we didn't get anything else. EuroCAD, GA, EN, GCAD, USD, JPY. What's happening on that one? I know that Les isn't on today, by the way. He'll be back tomorrow. And Sean on in the morning. I'll just add this one on. I'm trying to go through my pairs, adding them on as we go. So your quarter theory is all the same, 50 pips, working to a range of 200 pips either side of current price. And this 3-in-1 indicator means that it will work even if the markets are closed, works on the JPY pairs, and it works even if its price has moved off even if you're moving away from current price. So USD JPY just come down for a big break and retest here with a quarter theory above for a sell. You might want to look at that. We're just at the hour, so look at this for a sell. Don't know how much that gives you. You can still cover 10 pips there down to that pitchfork at 20. So you've had a, there's the pitchfork, you've had break and retest of both and the 62, so it's just an entry now on this one, just happens to be an entry now. And that is, because I wouldn't have got in this anyway above that 62. Let me just do that before we go. I'll just do it on demo. I really do have to sort my computers out. This can't carry on like this. I'm just wasting time not taking these on my real account. There, new order USD JPY sell. A bit late doing that, but then 105.377. So stop loss 105.377.477. I always do market execution and modify my position afterwards. That's on MT4. If I'm on C-Trader, I've got it automatically set at 10 or 15. I'll just adjust it according to the pair. So not just because I'm in late on this one, should have been in as we were talking, that would have covered the quarter theory. 62, pitchfork, downward trend. So you might be able to get a few pips there because we rushed into this a bit, but it was just there. Same setup, same thing we're always doing. So you had your break and your retest, break and retest back to the 62 plus quarter theory and on break, sorry, 2 breaks and retests, that's back to the quarter theory. Only a small break and retest, but it was held by both quarter theory and the 62. It's leveling off a little bit now. So that might have actually done its run. Sorry about that. 10 pips. Let me just look at that. Break and retest again. 7.6. So just be careful of this one if you did snatch at it, because it looks like it's, or it is wicking off. So again, I don't like rushing into things. Where am I on the, and I was in late, minus 3.7. So it's just doing a retrace back up there. But you can see the 62's leveled off a bit, so it is stalling a bit. And that was our hourly fake out. So hopefully you can get a few pips off that. So, but be careful of it, please. I don't want anyone to make losses because they're rushing into things because I've said, oh, look, that looks like it's happening now. Right, so let me see if there's anything in the chat. Thank you for that D point. Forgot to mute my mic. That's okay. I've had things happen here. today, after understanding the fiddliness, have made 45 pips. Wow, that's fantastic. First time so far to have this success. That's really brilliant. I don't know if you mean on this strategy or any strategy, but you see, that's nearly 2 days. That's nearly 2 days work on trading. And the thing about trading is not to, you know, go wild and think one's got to grab hundreds of pips. It really is about skill for life, saying to yourself, like being married, you know, although I've had 2 of those, they didn't exactly last, but I'm going to stay in this for the rest of my life. It's a skill for life, and I'm going to go for my 25 pips a day because the power of it is so phenomenal. Well done, good job. Yeah, well, thanks, Charlie. Thank you for contributing. Appreciate everyone. So thank you for joining. No live. I've got an alarm going off. I'll leave that. That's GBPUSD, it says, so I'll leave that to you guys to look at. I'm going to stop recording, and no live trading for me tomorrow, but I am on at 3 p.m. UK time. Come with any questions, charts, have a cup of tea, talk about whatever you want to talk about to do with technicalities, or anything to do with trading, that's fine. So have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining. I appreciate you all.